Hi friends, it's Deanna here today. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be working on another free pattern. This time we're going to be working on the Laurel by Styla Patterns. This is a super cute tier dress. The bodice ends up being lined. It's got more of like a square neckline and it's got different types of sleeves. Today we're going with the short sleeve, but it also has a sleeveless option and a longer sleeve option. I love this pattern. It's super simple. And it's super cute. So let's get started. All right, friends, today I'm going to be using a double brush poly. I already made this dress with a French terry rayon. And it worked out really well. I'll show a picture right here. The only thing about it that I did not love is the fact that it was a little bit shorter than I'm usually comfortable with dresses, especially for being a flowy dress and flowing up and down. So I'm going to be adding some length to this dress. And the way that I'm going to add that length is I am going to add maybe about almost an inch to each tier to make it a little bit longer. I'll probably add like a 3/4 inch to make it long enough for me. I'm also 5'7", so I'm a little bit taller than it's designed for. So, you know, that's all in your preference, how if you want to add length or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it up. I am doing the simple solid bodice. I'm not doing the faux placket or anything like that. So we're going simple with this one so we can sew it up quickly. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out and then we'll come back and sew it together. I wanted to mention that this pattern also has a simple skirt option without the tiers. So you can also do that, but I am adding tiers today because I just love a good tier. So that's what I'm doing. When I am cutting my pattern and I see that it has markings, I usually make the markings come out on my pattern itself, when on my fabric itself. That way when I am sewing, I can revert back to where I made those markings and it can remind me, and then I won't lose them. Like if instead of, you know, when you put pins, they might fall off or whatever, but if I have those markings, I have them on there, and when I sew them, I'll just eat them right up with my seam allowance. I am gonna keep these pinned together to my pattern piece because there is the markings on the names on it, where it shows you where the front and the center seams are, and that you will need that when you sew later. So I gotta actually cut 2 of those, but I'm going to clip them together, that way I don't lose them and then I don't end up wondering what is what. They're very similar. The back shoulder strap and the front shoulder strap are very similar in structure, so you want to make sure that you know which one is which. Oh no, I forgot to add length. I'm gonna add a sign to it. I'm gonna add it to the other ones too so I don't forget. If I don't do this now, when I go to cut them, I'll forget and I won't add any length and then I'll be upset. So I'm just adding length to the 2 bottom tiers because I forgot to do it to the top one. All right, friends, I don't always do this. I've done this pattern before and I've just gone for it. But one of the things that they recommend is for you to label your pieces, your shoulder pieces, because like I said, remember I showed you to keep them clipped. They're very similar in shape at the front and the back and such. So labeling them might be something that might help you later when you're piecing them together, not to forget what they are. So that's what I'm doing. Water soluble pen. or chalk or whatever you want to use. Or you really could just pin and remember what each pin means. All right, now that I've got them separate, we're gonna grab the front. This is the back. Doesn't really matter, whichever, the front or the back. I'm gonna put them right side up. The liner with the liner and the outer with the outer. But they're both the same for me, so this is fine. Okay, so here's the front on this side. So we're gonna grab one of the pieces over here, the back piece, and the front's got to match the front and the shoulder's got to match the shoulder. So make sure you're matching the shoulder seam right here, and that's where you're gonna sew, but make sure that your front piece, where the front is, matches up together. So these are both, if you look at your markings, the fronts are both on this side, center front. So we're gonna do that for all of them, your liners and your outers. So make sure that they match, and make sure, obviously, if it's a liner, it goes with the liner. If it's an outer, it goes with the liner. So mine doesn't really matter because they're both the same fabric, but if you're using a lining fabric or a different color fabric, that will definitely matter. And then we're gonna go ahead and sew that shoulder seam. All right, so now that that's sewn, you can go ahead and steam that piece down. And then we're going to grab our lining piece and our lining, the two linings to, oh my goodness, a lining together, or the two outers together, and we're going to match them up on that center front. So remember, you got to match up the center front with the center front, and you want to nest those seams. Wait, that's the center front, but this is the wrong piece. We got to do the back with the back. This is a front, so I want a front. Here it is, front to front, and center seam to center seam, so that they match up. And make sure that your seams are facing the same way, the different way, so you can nest them together. So what you want to do is you want one to be facing the front here, and this one's facing this way, so they can, when you sew them together, they are not in the same area, so they make a big bulk. They're opposite, so they kind of go like this, one going one way and the other going the other way, so they match up really nicely. I hope that makes sense. And then we're sewing the center front, so you got to have that mark right there where it says center front. Those are the ones you're sewing together. Make sure you nest your seams so that they're nice and not bulky, thin, not bulky. And we're gonna do that for the lining and the outer. Now, I am doing the sleeved version, so I'm only sewing that center front seam. If you're doing the sleeveless version, you would sew both sides. Maybe a little bit different here on this step. So here's the front area, and here's the other one coming. I am using my serger for these stitches, but if you don't have a serger, that's all right. You can use a sewing machine, but you got to use a stretch stitch on your sewing machine. All right, so we sew that together, and I actually like to usually trim all these. You don't have to, but they just get annoying when they're all in the way. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and grab them, and you can turn them wrong sides together and steam that seam right there. And what you're going to do now is you can if you want, you can baste these two outer edges together just to make sure that they're not going to move on you and they stay even. I'm just gonna go for it because this double brush poly kind of sticks to itself, so usually it stays really nicely together. But if you're worried about your fabric being really slinky and stuff like that, then that's an extra step that you may want to take. Now keep in mind that the shorter side is the back side, so you want to make sure that you remember which one's your back and which one's your front. You can even put a pin, because now a clip, because now I can't see. I wrote all the information on the inside, so I can't see it anymore. So you're just gonna have to keep that in mind. I'm gonna grab my front bodice, my front main bodice, and I'm gonna lay it out. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to be my front because I don't want to have a weird flower where I don't really want it. I don't know if this is going to be weird or not. I think I'm going to put this one as my front. I don't want to have to worry about a flower looking weird. But anyway, all right, so now what I'm going to do is once I turn them, you want this seam to go towards the inside, the one that you created, where you sewed it together. And I'm going to place it right sides together. So if this is the outer piece, the liner is facing out. So your liner, you would be able to see your liner. This is my liner piece. Now remember, mine is the same color, so it doesn't matter to me, but it may matter to you. Now what you want to do is you want to baste those on. Again, I am not basting because that's just the type of person I am. But you can go ahead and baste it and make sure that it's not gonna move out of the way when you go sew. I just go for it. So I'm placing the other one right on the other edge. All right, once you've put them on, you could baste them on, but again, I'm just going for it. I'm gonna grab the lining, the front liner, and I'm gonna place it right sides together, sandwiching that strap between the two. So make sure you make a sandwich of those straps. What I like to do sometimes is grab some pins, and since I'm not basting, sometimes I'll just pin the strap lower down so that when I remove the pins, the clips, my strap won't like fall down and, you know, I lose my strap because I didn't baste it. I'm just giving you tips of how to not do it correctly. No, it's not that it's not doing correctly, it's just that I take the shortcuts. And now we're gonna go ahead and sew that top right here, right sides together. Now that we've sewn that together, we're gonna turn it right side out. As you can see, here's my bodice. And then you can go ahead and give it a good steam. Remember which one's your front and which one's your back, your outer or your liner. This is gonna be my front. So then now we're gonna grab our backs, and we're doing the same thing, but with our back now. So I'm gonna put our back up, our outer, and then we're gonna place the straps right on top at those corners. And then we're gonna grab our liner and place it right on top. So the liners, you should be able to see both liners because this is a liner that we're placing right on top. Because when that's sewn, this is how it's gonna be. So that's gonna be your liner, this is your liner, that's your outer, that's your outer. If this is your outer up here, then you wanna place your liner down, and then your straps, and then your outer, so that they face each other. So now I'm gonna go ahead and sew this up. For me, it doesn't matter. Oh, I need to put that pin there. For me, it doesn't matter because my liner and outer are the same. So it really, if your outer and liner are the same, it really doesn't matter. It'll come in play later when you're attaching the sleeves, which side you choose to be your liner and your outer. If that makes any sense. All right, let's go sew that. So I'm separating my front, my liners and my outers. And I'm matching first I'm matching my liners are back here, my outers are up here. So I'm matching my front outer with my back outer and matching those right sides together on both sides. All right, then I'm grabbing my liner and my outer, and they're also matching, but they're gonna come behind these other two. These are my liner pieces. My liner front and back. are right here behind my outer front and back. I hope that I said that right. These were my outer front and back, and these are my liner front and back. So I'm placing those right together. And then now I pin them together, so you're gonna sew all 4 layers together. And do the same on the other side. So here's my outers, right sides together on the side, and my liners are coming behind them, right sides together on that side. So that once they're sewn, when you go to turn them right side out, your seams are encased in there. All your seams will be encased. So that's that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and also prep the other things. Here's my skirt pieces. Make sure you keep them together so I know which ones are which. I think these are a set right here. 3, I think this might be my first set. Here's the, yeah, 4. This is my 3rd tier. This is my 2nd tier. And my 1st tier should be, here's my 1st tier. Okay, here's all my tiers, and here's my sleeves. So I'm gonna prep all these. I'm gonna grab my sleeves first of all, and I'm going to, you can go ahead and hem them first, or you can sew them right sides together on the round right here, because we're gonna be insetting these sleeves, and then hem them. You can do a memory hem, which means a memory crease, which means that you would fold your seam allowance and press, so that way then hemming them on the round will be a lot easier. This is up to you. I'm just being lazy and just going for it, which I'll probably pay for later when I go to hem. But we are going to sew those right sides together, the short raw edge. And then for the skirts, we're going to grab them and sew them together and piece them together. So this is my 1st tier. So I'm gonna grab both of them and sew them right sides together at the raw edges. Then tier number 2, I think this is tier number, no, this is tier number 4, because there's, wait, I mean number 3. Yeah, this is number 3. Number 2 is got also 2 pieces, just a little bit longer. So we're sewing them right sides together as well. And then for the 3rd tier, because there's 4 of them, we're gonna start by sewing each tier together. So we'll open up a tier and we'll sew one edge with another tier. Like I said, double brush poly kind of sticks together sometimes. So it's good for some things and then it's annoying for others. All right, so there's one edge. Then that same is coming up, that same one, the same tier, and we're putting the other edge on. So we're just essentially attach them to be one big circle, one big tier, wide tier. And then one last tier. And then that means that this one will attach the first one at the other end where we started. I'm gonna sew all those together. All right, there are all my pins. Move out of the way, please. All right, so here's our top. Now when we turn it around, we will have our front, our outer, and our liner on the inside, and all our seams will be on the inside, and it's just with one seam, so they're attached together. But there is no seam on the outside, which is really nice. Which is really nice. All right, so here's my front outer, wait, is that my outer? No, this is my outer. Like I said, it doesn't really matter on mine because they're both the same. So I could go try it on now before I attach the sleeves and make sure that it doesn't look weird. You know how when you have a pattern on your top, sometimes it can be a little bit weird looking? I might go try this on just to make sure that it's not going to be, and figure out which side I want to be my front. So let me go do that before I move on to the next step. All right, I think I was right in how I had it, this being my front. So now we're gonna grab our sleeves and, whoops, my table. Okay, so remember I made the markings on them. The double knotted area is the back. I'm gonna turn it right side out because I'm going to sew them right sides together to my outside. So let me flip this inside out because this is gonna be my liner area. Like this is what it looks like. Like if this was the lining, this would be the lining. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit my sleeve. So here's the back bumps to the back, and now you know the back and the front, the back is higher than the front. So I'm placing it right sides together at that arm area, the arm side. And we are attaching, and I did mark the tops as well, and that's gonna go right at the top of the sleeve. Right there. And we're matching it right sides together. And we're gonna do that for both, and we're gonna sew it on. Alrighty, our bodice is basically done. All we need to do is hem our sleeves, and now we're gonna focus on our skirt. Now, if you are doing the simple version of the skirt, you don't have all the tiers, you're literally just going to have one tier that you sewed at the sides, like we did the first tier, the two sides, and then you're going to gather the width of the bodice and attach it to the bodice right sides together, and you're done. For the tiers, we're gonna do that, but we gotta do it for all the different tiers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my bodice and I'll place it out, and I like to always find my half, so I'm matching my side seams, and when I find my halves, I always like to do a little clip because pins will move, clips will move, but a clip will, a little snip will stay there and I can see it later. So I'm gonna put my bodice right up here, and I'm gonna start with the first layer, and you'll know which one's the first layer because it will be the smallest. The longest, the widest layer will be your last layer. See that big thing? And what I'm going to do today, I'm going to gather with clear elastic. Now, I am not going to show you all that process here because it takes a little bit longer. And I have a really detailed video on how I gather with clear elastic on my channel. So I'll add a link to that so you can go check that out. And if you want to gather with clear elastic, you can gather with clear elastic, you can gather with basting stitches, you can gather however you want to. This is up to you. But we're going to do essentially with each layer, we're going to grab, like here's my first layer, I'm going to mark my half. So that way it makes it easier when I go to attach it, so I know I'm gathering it evenly between quarters instead of just one long half. And then actually for the other layers, you can even make them smaller. The last layer is already 4 pieces, so you can grab each piece as a quarter instead of having to mark and everything. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over, and actually this first layer, you need to mark the bottom and the top because you're going to be attaching the next layer to the bottom of this layer. One of the reasons why I like to do it with clear elastic is because it also adds the stability to the skirt. Because it's got so many layers, they tend to get heavy and pull your fabric down. But clear elastic helps give it stability. So it not only gathers, but it also helps to make the dress look better. So that's why I like to go with it. So then what we're gonna do is, I'm doing it with clear elastic, you can do it whatever you want. We're gonna gather each tier to the width of the tier above it. So like this first tier, will be to the bodice. So I'm just gathering this to the width of the bodice, like that. Obviously it's not gathered yet. I'm gonna go gather that. But that's what it's gonna be. Then our second tier, again, I'm gonna mark the half and I'm gonna gather it the width of this second tier. So I'm gonna gather that, first tier, so I'm gonna gather that this width. The third tier, I'm gonna gather it the width of the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna go gather all of those and then we'll come back and piece it together and we'll be done. Well, hemming and then we'll be done. All right, now that my tiers have been gathered, we just have to put them together. So what we're going to do is we'll start with the first tier and we're matching right sides together, the front, the layer, the tier, and the main bodice, right where you made those marks. Make sure that you're grabbing the liner and the outer piece of the bodice and not all 4 layers, but just the outer and the liner. And we match that front, then we match the side, then we match the back, and then we make sure that it's all nice and even. And like I said, I did that clear elastic, you saw it, but I do have a very more detailed version of how to do that because I just kind of went quickly and gathered it. So you can go check that out. So then I'm going to put a few clips on here so to even it out. And then I'm gonna go to the next layer. Now you can do each layer at a time, but because I'm using clips and they're really nice at keeping everything together, I'm gonna go ahead and clip all the layers on. But you can do one layer at a time and clip it and then go sew it and then go to the next layer, clip it, go sew it. But yeah, let's do that and then we'll be done. Okay, there's the first layer. So like I said, I'm just bending it down and putting the next layer on because of clips. Now the last layer. All right, now I'm gonna go over there to my sewing machine, my serger, and sew this on. I use 1/4 inch clear elastic for this, so usually it just gets right encased into the seam allowance of my serger, so I don't even have to do anything. I don't cut any of the elastic, I just encase it right in as I sew along. Then what we'll need to do is hem. So then after I sew that on, I'm gonna go try my dress on real quickly and hem. I will be hemming on my cover stitch, so it will look like a serger, but it's not a serger, it's a cover stitch. So that's what I'll do. So let's finish sewing this on and then I'll show you the finished results. I'm super excited. All right, friends, we are done. It turned out super cute. I love the twirl factor. I love all the tiers. Bo loves them too. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what pattern you would like to see next for our free sewing tutorial. Let me know if you make this pattern. Come find me on Instagram, Eloise.ezra, and share your makes with me. I love to see what everybody's making. I love to be able to inspire y'all to sew your own beautiful creations. I will attach a link below with where my video for gathering with a clear elastic, and I'll also attach the information where I get my clear elastic, because I know I get a lot of questions about that. This was a double brush poly fabric from Olga's Closet. I think this particular print is sold out, but I will add my affiliate link to Olga's Closet so you can go check out some other beautiful fabrics that you can sew with. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Subscribe so you never miss any of our other tutorials, and I'll see you next time. Bye!